Hello, I'm Barry Nichols, the creator of The Wooden Nickel. So with not a lot of content coming from The Wooden Nickel recently, I decided to do a retrospective sort of on my previous films and sort of the history of The Wooden Nickel, because there's been a lot of history. There will also be a look back at the short films / ideas that we never actually made or finished. So before I get started, I would like to say the way I'm ranking these. I'm going to start with the films that were released chronologically, and then in those sections, I'm going to have little sections that are story, like, how the movie came to be, the plot, the experience, and the rating. And in between those, when something major happens to the Wooden Nickel, I will add a extra section in there around the time that it happened. Now, because the first film doesn't really have a lot in it, I will be including A True Friday the 13th and Before the 13th in just this one video. But first, we gotta start at the first film, A True Friday the 13th. Before I get started, I would like to say that this movie had no involvement with me at all. I didn't even go to this school when this film was made, so I don't really know a whole lot about the backstory or the set or production on what this film was, but I have had stories been told from the people who were involved with this. So back in 2018, one of my closest friends, Adrian Moreno, created a YouTube channel called Slaver666. I'm not sure if this was a brand new account or if Adrian had posted content on this channel before. If this was their first upload, I really don't know. The basic plot was just a serial killer goes into a summer camp and kills teenagers. From the words of Adrian themselves, this film was just supposed to be an homage to slasher films of the late 70s, early 80s, and there was really no intent to make a full story or a full backstory for anything in this film. It was just supposed to be a one-off movie. In the original ending of the movie, the killer was originally just supposed to take off his mask and turn to reveal a puppet, giving the film a comedic ending. From what I've heard from other people, there's really no behind-the-scenes drama or anything that really happened because it was filmed in one day. In fact, the killer didn't even have a name yet. In the credits, he was just listed as The Killer. The next day, it was released, somewhere in July of 2018. Nothing really unique here, but it was a very good film just for fun. There was really nothing going on. Now, although it is the original, I would have to put it in 7th place. It's a good film, it's just nothing really unique there, but I'm happy this would be the start of something that meant so much to me. But that would all change with the next film, Before the 13th. So either during or before the production of A True Friday the 13th, Adrian had decided to make this an actual character, an actual story. Adrian had started writing an actual script during the summer of 2018, because A True Friday the 13th didn't actually have a script. It was just sort of being made up as they went along. It was an idea. This was a real script. A big step forward in production. Apparently I forgot to record myself saying the rest of it, so I'll have to continue the video from here. The basic plot was that a few days before A True Friday the 13th, the killer, who now had a name, Jason Milton, we would see the backstory of him and see what caused him to become this vicious murderer, and apparently it was being falsely accused of sexual assault against his ex. Now the script did go pretty much as planned, except for one thing. So when the script was done, this new year started, and this was the year that I went to the school. Adrian and I, we were quick friends, and we got along very well. After a while, Adrian had asked if I wanted to be in his short film. He told me the plot, he told me everything about it, and I immediately said yes, because it was such an interesting idea, and I was really excited to do it. I'd always been into films, and I've always made little videos. This would be my first, real project. Originally, Adrian was going to play Jason because that's who they played in the previous film, and it would just make sense for Adrian to play Jason a few days before the original. I was actually cast to play Joel, who in the movie now is played by Alex. He's one of the victims and the brother of Lucas, Preston's character. There is actual footage of me as Joel interacting with Preston's character. I'll show that right now.
Joel, I'm home.
Lucas, get in here.
What's the problem?
The phone lines are down. Just lock the door. Crap. I can't find my phone.
Oh, your phone's broken.
We gotta get out of here.
So maybe after a week of filming, Adrian had come up to me and asked me if I wanted to play Jason now. I did say yes, but I was still a little confused on how that would work chronologically because I look nothing like Adrian. There were a lot of different ideas on how this would work. I remember the two most popular ones was that it would be a sort of soft reboot where we would go from before the 13th and just make a whole new timeline. So a true Friday the 13th would be like a rough draft of the Friday the 13th series, and I would play the main character, Jason. The second idea was that we would set before the 13th a year back, so we could show the progression of Jason and give us a little more time to explain how he got the way he looked, and obviously we went with the latter. Also, the cast was much larger. We had a lot of different people from the school, and we also had some returning faces. Keep the continuity the same between Before the 13th and A True Friday the 13th. After around 2 months of filming and editing and getting everything prepared, film was released on YouTube December 2018. I do remember we actually had a premiere for this movie. It wasn't anything huge. Our school was just having a winter showcase, and our principal said that we could show our film there. It was really funny though. She didn't watch our film beforehand, and I guess it was a little too violent for a family-friendly art show. So when we eventually did show the entire project, it was a very awkward experience because everybody was just kind of like uncomfortable. But after that whole thing, the film went on without any fuss. Honestly, this is probably the best experience I've ever had on a film, and I think it's had one of the best bloopers of all time.
Look, I didn't mean to throw my phone at you, okay?
We're not here because that. Here because you're a perv.
Now, rating this movie, this would have to be my #1 top pick. I'm obviously very biased on this, but it was my first ever short film that I worked on. And yes, I was the lead, but that really didn't matter. Surrounding myself with the people that were there, it was such a fun experience. We only needed one location, so it wasn't stressful at all. It was really easy and simple, and it was just a wonderful experience all around. After the film was released, it did very well, everybody seemed to enjoy it, but Adrian immediately went into writing the next script, the finale of a trilogy. Cult of the 13th would be the final entry in the 13th series. Or so we thought. The next video in this series will be looking back at Cult of the 13th and Hike, the two films that never got made.